The phone should not have been there. It was found taped under a metal shelf, hidden behind dust and shadow, inside a prison cell that had been searched many times before. When officers turned it on, a list of messages appeared on the screen. Short messages. Cold messages. They were not about prison life. They were about people on the outside. And one message ended with words that made the room go silent. Do it tonight. That was the moment everyone realized the truth. A prisoner had ordered murders from his cell. And he had almost gotten away with it. His name was Daniel Cross. He was serving a long sentence in a maximum security prison in the United States. On paper, he was just another inmate. Quiet. Polite. No recent trouble. Guards said he was respectful. Counselors said he was calm. He followed rules. That's why no one watched him closely. What no one knew was that Daniel never stopped being in control. Even behind bars. The highest peak of this story didn't happen with shouting or alarms. It happened quietly, late at night, when a detective on the outside connected two cases that should not have been connected. Two people had been killed in different cities. No obvious link. No shared history. But one thing matched. Both had once testified against the same man. Daniel Cross. Inside the prison, Daniel was asleep when the news broke outside. Or at least, that's what the cameras showed. He lay on his bunk, hands folded, eyes closed, looking peaceful. That image would later make people sick. Because while he slept, families were being told their loved ones were gone. Daniel had learned something important early in prison. Silence protects you. He didn't argue. He didn't fight. He didn't join gangs openly. He listened. Prison is full of people who talk too much. Daniel wasn't one of them. He watched who had access. Who cleaned where. Who moved items. He learned the system the way some people learn a game. Patiently. The low moments came first. Years of boredom. Endless routine. Locked doors. Daniel hated being powerless. So he found ways not to be. It started small. Messages passed through other inmates. Nothing illegal on the surface. Tell my cousin hello. Ask about my old neighborhood. Guards heard these things every day. Then money started moving outside. Not prison money. Real money. Small amounts at first. Then more. It didn't point back to Daniel. At least, not clearly. On the outside, people began getting strange calls. Not threats. Requests. Do you remember Daniel? He needs help. Some people said no. Some listened. That was enough. Inside prison, Daniel stayed clean. No rule breaks. No write-ups. When his cell was searched, nothing was found. That made him invisible. The first murder shocked everyone. The victim had a quiet life. No enemies. No warning. Police were confused. The second case raised alarms. Same pattern. Same calm planning. That's when a detective noticed the name in an old file. Daniel Cross. Back inside, Daniel felt safe. He believed the walls protected him. He believed prison made him untouchable. That belief almost saved him. The extreme moment at the end of Chapter 1 came when federal investigators requested access to prison phone records. Not inmate phones. Staff logs. Maintenance schedules. And one small detail stood out. A guard had logged extra time near Daniel's cell. Nothing dramatic. Just enough. That guard was questioned. At first, he said nothing. Then he cried. He said he had never hurt anyone. He said he just passed messages. He didn't know what they would lead to. When officers searched Daniel's cell again, they found the phone. Hidden well. Too well. That was the moment everything changed. Daniel was taken from his cell. For the first time in years, his face showed something real. Not fear. Surprise. Because he thought he had planned for everything. As he was walked down the hall, another inmate whispered, "It's over." Daniel didn't answer. He was already thinking. Already planning. Because even now, with the phone found and eyes on him, one question remained unanswered. How many orders had already gone out? And how many had not been stopped yet? Daniel Cross was moved to a different wing before sunrise. No warning. No explanation. Just cuffs, quiet steps, and a new cell with cameras that never blinked. He sat on the bunk and smiled. Not because he was happy. Because he was thinking. Investigators worked fast. Too fast for Daniel to fully understand. The phone was sent away for testing. Messages were copied. Numbers were traced. Names began to line up like dots waiting to be connected. Daniel had always believed his biggest strength was distance. Orders sent from behind walls. Voices carried by others. No hands getting dirty. That distance was shrinking. On the outside, detectives reopened old files. People Daniel once blamed. People who had spoken against him. A pattern appeared. Each victim had crossed Daniel years earlier. Each killing came after a short burst of phone activity. That was not luck. That was planning. Daniel was questioned for the first time that afternoon. 2 agents sat across from him. They didn't shout. They didn't threaten. They asked simple questions. How did the phone get into your cell? Who were you talking to? Daniel answered calmly. I don't know. I don't remember. He looked bored. That was the low moment for the agents. Because calm like that usually means confidence. They showed him photos. Phone messages. Times. Dates. Daniel leaned back and nodded. Looks serious, he said. Then he asked for a lawyer. In prison, rumors spread fast. Inmate got a phone. Someone's talking. Feds are here. Other inmates watched Daniel differently now. Not with fear. With distance. Because attention brings danger. The guard who passed messages was charged. He broke down in court. He said Daniel never used words like kill or hurt. He said Daniel spoke in puzzles. Fix the problem. Take care of it. The guard said he thought it meant money or threats. He said he didn't ask questions. That was the extreme moment of guilt. When helping became harming. Daniel listened to all of this from his cell. He took notes in his head. He believed the messages were vague enough. He believed the chain was long enough. He believed he could still walk away. Then a new detail appeared. A voice recording. One call. Short. Clear. Daniel's voice. Not angry. Not loud. Just direct. Don't wait, he said. If it's done tonight, it's better. The room went silent when the recording played. Even Daniel stopped smiling. His lawyer argued. No names were spoken. No location given. But the words were enough. Intent had entered the room. More arrests followed. People on the outside who thought they were safe. Some talked right away. Some didn't. But one thing became clear. Daniel's orders had reached further than anyone expected. Back in prison, Daniel was placed on total isolation. No phone calls. No visits. No messages. For the first time, he was truly alone. That was supposed to scare him. It didn't. What scared him was the timing. Because investigators found something else. A message sent just days before the phone was found. Another problem. Another name. Someone was still out there. And no one knew if the order had already been followed. Daniel sits alone, staring at the wall. The agents race against time. Families wait for answers. And one question hangs over everything. Had the prisoner really been stopped? Or was the worst order still moving toward its target? The order had not been carried out. That was the news investigators were waiting for. They found the target alive, shaken, but safe. Police had stepped in just hours before anything could happen. The message had been sent, but the chain had broken at the last moment. Time had won. That was the highest peak of the story. Lives were saved. But the case was not over. Daniel Cross was brought into a small interview room one final time. No cameras from the prison. No friendly guards. Just federal agents, a recorder, and silence. Daniel looked tired now. Not scared. But worn. They played the recording again. His voice filled the room. Don't wait. If it's done tonight, it's better. Daniel closed his eyes. For the first time, He did not speak. An agent leaned forward. "It's over," he said calmly. "We know how it worked. We know who helped. We know who listened." Daniel opened his eyes. "And what do you think you know?" he asked. The agent slid a folder across the table. Inside were photos, phone records, messages, signed statements. People on the outside had talked. Not because they were loyal, but because they were afraid. Daniel's distance had protected him for years. Now it betrayed him. His lawyer tried one last move. The words were vague. No direct orders. No weapons touched. But the judge didn't see it that way. The pattern mattered. The timing mattered. The results mattered. Daniel Cross had used his cell like an office. And the court understood that. The verdict came months later. Guilty. Not just for ordering crimes, but for running them. From a prison cell. Daniel was sentenced again. This time, there was no end date. No chance of parole. No illusions of control. He was moved to a federal facility designed for one thing. Silence. No contact with other inmates. No access to communication. No chance to influence anyone. The kind of place built for men who never stop reaching. On his first night there, Daniel sat on the bunk and listened. There were no whispers. No signals. No plans forming in the dark. Just the sound of his own breathing. Investigators closed the case slowly. They reviewed every message. Every failure. They changed procedures. More searches. More monitoring. More checks on staff. Because Daniel Cross had exposed something dangerous. Walls do not stop power. Access does. The guard who helped him was sentenced too. He cried when he spoke. He said he never thought it would go that far. But crimes do not need anger to grow. They only need permission. Families of the victims spoke in court. Some were angry. Some were quiet. One said something simple. He thought prison would hide him. That sentence stayed with everyone. Daniel never spoke publicly again. No interviews. No letters. No statements. The man who once controlled everything was finally cut off. The prisoner who ordered murders from his cell did almost get away with it. For years. But the truth caught up. Not because of one mistake. But because patterns always surface. This story did not end with sirens or chaos. It ended with paperwork. Evidence. And a quiet door closing. And that is the true story. Of how a man tried to rule the world from a prison cell. And how, in the end, the walls he believed in became the place where his power finally stopped.